I'm so excited to introduce Cara to you. So Cara is the CEO of Ammolite Analytx, a custom AI-powered software and hardware development firm. They specialize in data analytics, cybersecurity, and physical security integration. She's a dynamic and experienced award-winning thought leader, author, and speaker with over 15 years of executive leadership. Cara has a proven track record of conceptualizing, developing, and commercializing technology-based solutions in software and hardware engineering, financial services, defense, and energy sectors. Holy moly, Cara, that is a mouthful. That's amazing. She has expert analytical and problem-solving skills coupled with collaborative team leadership style. Her technical competency, business acumen, and drive to succeed delivers exceptional outcomes. She's won numerous awards provincially and nationally for her strategic technology innovation initiatives and guest lectures regularly on the topics of artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. She has extensive experience serving at the advisory board and director level for many organizations, including the Council of Innovation and Entrepreneurial Leadership at UCalgary and the International Association of VCISOs. She is a member of the Cybersecurity Committee for APMA, the Institute of Corporate Directors, and a SHE Innovator with the UN Women. She has been nominated for numerous awards for her innovative leadership, and Cara earned her BCom and MBA in corporate finance and entrepreneurship from the Haskayne School of Business. We, on behalf of BBB, Cara, we're just so grateful that you could join us for this conversation, and you have such a wealth of expertise and knowledge, and thank you so much for joining us. Also helping lead this conversation is Maria Martiniello. She is our super dynamic, fun, lovely Director of Sales, Marketing, and Communications here at the BBB. Maria first started as an accredited business, then moved towards serving on the board, and is now the leader of our team and helped bring great initiatives like introducing you guys to Cara and making all of this happen. So without further ado, I'm going to stop this and we'll get right into it.
So this is meant to be interactive and casual. So if you have questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat, and we're going to have some fun with some polls, and then provide you with some general overview, some tips and tricks, and things that you can look out for. Talk about some of the emerging trends, and we're going to have some fun over the next hour.
Yeah, we will be providing an open Q&A at the end. So if there's anything that doesn't get acknowledged, feel free to either ask at any time or just know that we will have a Q&A at the end. So let's jump into it. Just to start, we would love to know, why did you attend this virtual webinar today? Are you interested in networking, to learn, maybe just curiosity about the topic, the thrilling virtual experience of being online? I'll give you 5 more seconds here. All of the responses are going to be anonymous too, just so you know. Perfect. All right, I'm going to end it out here. So lots of you came to learn. That's exciting.
I love the thrilling virtual experience.
And then just some background, because we're going to keep this an open format, it'll help disclose how the information is going to move, or sorry, how the conversation is going to move forward. So again, this is all anonymous. How would you rate your knowledge of cybersecurity? Personally, for me, cyber what? You have limited knowledge, some knowledge, you're well-versed, or this is your all day, every day, you're Cara. Amazing. Okay, I'm going to end this in 3 seconds here. Good. Is that what you were expecting, Cara? What's the typical answer around where people's knowledge feels about cybersecurity? You think people underestimate it or overestimate it?
I think both. I think it's really hard to keep up with how rapidly things are changing. So when you're running a business, you're focused on your day-to-day, and you don't have time to keep up with all of the things that are emerging. So you should be protecting yourself. You should be looking after your data and putting the right tools in place to do that. but you're also busy doing everything else in your business. So, you know, there's a balance there. And I think people are in both of those camps. It's very rare actually that I find somebody that's like cyber what, or that I find somebody that's all day, every day. So everybody just usually is right in there. And that's really where we come in to help out, to increase that level of awareness and security awareness, and increase the cyber hygiene posture.
Yeah.
Maria, I'd love to turn it over to you.
And what a beautiful segue. We are very blessed to have Cara with us. I've known Cara for a number of years. Our paths have crossed on so many occasions. And Cara is an accredited business here with the Better Business Bureau. So thank you so much for being here. We've talked about this often, and I know that some of the organizations that I've been with have fall victim of cybersecurity. So I'm just, to start off, why should small to medium-sized businesses be concerned about cybersecurity?
Oh. And there's a lot of reasons for them to be concerned, because if you don't take care of your own business, you are at risk of also infecting your customers and your suppliers. So as a small business owner, you have a responsibility to keep your data safe, and you need to keep your customer data safe. In addition to that, you need to keep yourself safe from being infected with malware or anti-malware, or becoming a victim of ransomware. And ransomware is increasing on the rise, and they're especially targeting small and medium-sized businesses because they believe that they don't have the proper defenses in place to protect against.
So in a small business, I mean, it can get overwhelming and daunting when we're talking about cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Like, if you're just a one-person small business, or you have just a handful of employees, whose job is it? Like, who's responsible, or do you just, kind of cross your fingers and hope that, it won't affect you? Because we all have that, right? No,
yeah,
small.
For sure, there's that mentality. Absolutely. And, ultimately, it's the owner of the business. It's your responsibility as the business owner to keep your data and your employees and yourself safe. You can delegate that responsibility to assign a person, whether you have an IT person as a specialization in security, but at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the business owner.
Okay.
I'm going to share the results of our poll there of how concerned are people about cybersecurity for their businesses.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think most people should be very concerned. And you should be concerned before it happens and not after. So quite often we'll get, calls from small, medium-sized businesses that say, we've got ransomware. What do we do? How do we mitigate this? And then what do we do to try to restore our data or bring our data back? And they don't really understand the rules and regulations that are involved around a breach. And I think that should be on everybody's top agenda, because the small, medium-sized businesses are being targeted at a higher rate and frequency now than ever before. And so it should be on everybody's top of mind. You keep your physical security safe, you lock your doors, you lock your windows, you don't walk around in dark alleys at night. Like, you should be doing the same thing in your businesses.
Totally. And why do you think the increase now? Like,
I think the tools have advanced, right? So the tools have advanced. We've got a lot of hostile nation state sponsored attacks. So certain countries will have open wallets, so to speak, and they pay these guys to create the ransomware, and they're on the clock, and hundreds and thousands and floors of them. And so, while our 10-year-olds are playing hockey, their 10-year-olds are learning how to take down drones, or they're learning how to hack satellites. So there's, Canada has this false sense of safety and security. And I'm saying, don't be lulled into that, because it's just not the case. And it's very hard to bring these bad actors to justice once they've already attacked you. So it's not like you can call the police and they can catch the guy, because usually they can't. They come in after the fact, and it's just more of a reporting thing after the fact. So prevention is really the key. And before prevention is awareness and this false sense of security that you may or may not have.
Sure. Okay, that actually segues beautifully into our poll question that you have, Tyra, for us.
Yeah, so you can pick more than one answer, but what are some types of cyber crimes? Again, these are all anonymous. Feel free. We'd love your input.
I like the mom's Facebook request.
And I am guilty of the faux pas selfie, so.
Sounded like a reasonable cybercrime.
It is. Sometimes it is.
We're getting lots of responses on this one. I'll keep it open for 5 more seconds. Okay, I'll share those with you. Cara, what do you think about those results?
There we go. Oh, I'm glad to see that nobody did phishing with an F. That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a lot of different types of cybercrime from phishing. So your phishing links, and there's things that so I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the latest phishing attacks where they will lure you to click on a link for a different kind of application and try to infect your computer that way, or you'll be led to another website that'll inject malicious code into your browser. And some of the more clever ones we've been seeing lately is that they're using artificial intelligence to mimic a CEO's language in their email or even in their voice, giving instructions to accounts payable to either buy gift cards or to wire funds to another unknown bank account late on a Friday afternoon. And the sophistication of these phishing attacks is quite phenomenal. What they've done is they've surveilled and undergone reconnaissance on, say, the CEO for a number of months, so they can identify the style of writing of an email, so it sounds like the way they speak and it sounds like the way they talk. So people are being fooled into either sending Bitcoin in terms of ransomware, or purchasing gift cards, or wiring fraud, or wiring money to bank accounts outside the country, or even inside the country for that matter. But so we're seeing an increase in rate and sophistication of phishing. We're seeing a rate and sophistication of identity theft. So, they're infecting different kinds of computers, especially on the work from home. And once they infect into a certain organization, then they can move around laterally and they can escalate their admin until they get right into the crown jewels of the companies, for example. And then they can inject their own malware and encrypt the data. And then at that point, you're in big trouble. And you don't even know how long they've been sitting infected in your computer or in your network or system. They could have been there for months. So a quick restore isn't necessarily going to clean your system out of the malware. It could have been sitting there for 4 to 6 months and nobody's ever known, and now it's just gone and executed. So I think a recent statistic says the average cost of a cyber attack is $500,000. So for a small, medium-sized business, it could bankrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a question pop up from Darcy in the chat there, Cara. I'm not sure if you could speak to that.
The one I've seen is where they've been asked to purchase gift cards for Christmas gifts or for gifts, and send the links to a specific address. And so they've mimicked where the address goes, and then they get the links to the gift cards. So they've been duped into buying the gift cards, and then they send the actual gift cards to the bad actor who uses them for any reason. So it's not just the purchase, it's what you do with them after the purchase.
So can I just say that this actually happened to us at the Calgary Zoo, and it would come from the president, and it had his name right away. It's like, and they used my name and said, Maria, we need your help right away. I have clients coming in. I need gift cards. Could you please look after it? And of course, you're like at high alert when the president is asking you to do something, and in haste, you're like, yes, sir, yes, right away. And and then in my experience, though, I for some weird reason, I looked at the email address and it wasn't a Zoo email address, but it had his first and last name. It had, I need your help. It had my name. It looked entirely legit.
Yeah.
And this happens often. And so, yeah, it's kind of scary entirely.
It is. And then you feel foolish, right? If you get taken, you feel foolish and embarrassed. And, you know, I had a case where a young, brand new employee, he was 2 weeks on the job, you know, and he rushed out and brought him on his corporate card. And then he was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired, you know, cause he got taken. But, you know, they knew he was a new employee, and same thing. If the boss needs it, he's like, yes, sir. He's all wanting to be, you know, be helpful. And so part of that is the security awareness training, where the president says, I will never send that kind of request, period. So, you know, and educating the C-suite and the senior executive to never, ever get into the habit of asking for that. So, you know, the last minute request for gift cards is like, you better verify that, you know, if that's a legit thing, then you were so right, Maria, to take a look at the email address and to ensure that it is the email address. But they can even mimic that now too. So that isn't the only thing.
Yes. Actually, we do have another question here. Or it says, I am finding that e-commerce insurance is costing 15% of my income. That's actually a great comment. Any suggestions regarding this?
Yeah, I'd say shop around for one. And, you know, and there's issues with cyber insurance. And that's an excellent question, because buying cyber insurance is one thing. Collecting insurance is something completely different. So insurance companies in general are very difficult to get your claims through. So just because you have insurance doesn't really mean you're protected. So that's another myth. So I would be looking at your coverage amount and how much you really need. I would also be shopping around to see where you can get a better rate on your insurance. Generally, the more years you're claim free, the lower your premiums, and see what you really need insurance for. Because 15% of your income is an awful lot to be spending on insurance. Like that's, you need that money to be driving future business. And the sense of security too, that just because you have it doesn't mean you'll pay out, because they're going to look for every single reason why they don't have to pay you out. So, you know, and it's limited in what they do pay out on. So you really need to take a look at your coverage, at your amounts, what you really need, and then shop it around.
Stanley, it's almost like we rehearsed this, because it segues beautifully into our next poll question and topic. So, Tyra?
So yeah, there's quite a few myths around cybersecurity. If any of these statements look to be true, could you let us know which ones? I'll give you 5-ish seconds. Okay, I'm going to close it out here.
Whoa.
They're good. Everybody knows that. Wow.
Whoa. So yeah, so what, I mean, obviously everyone answered the same thing, but you know, let's first talk about the Apple, and then let's just talk about, you know, some of the other myths around cybersecurity.
Certainly. Yeah, I hear this a lot, and say, oh, I use Apple products. I don't need to pay attention because they take care of it. Well, that's not true. So I just had my desktop got infected with malware. They have a new kind of hack that's come out where they put a browser in between you and Safari. And so somehow I visited the wrong website. They injected this browser. The browser collects all your data and information. So any kind of passwords, if you go to the bank, it'll collect your passwords, and it was quite clever. And it looked like it was legit. Everything about it looked like it was legit. So, you know, I called Apple, and they said, wow, we haven't seen this one before. And we had to do, you know, a full cleanse and a reboot, and you know, had the potential to take all of my passwords as I was keying them in. And then once they key in all your passwords, then they can sell them on the dark web for a lot of money and you become a bigger attack for hacking things like your bank accounts. So just because you have Apple does not mean you're safe. There's a lot more things involved that you need to take care of.
Okay.
Same with Microsoft, exactly. Like you've got,
Okay.
you know, it's not just Apple, it's all products. They're all subject to vulnerabilities. They're all being hacked all the time. And so those patches need to be updated regularly. But even still, you know, if you're not doing your regular updates, you're still leaving yourself susceptible. And if you're, you know, closed-minded about it, then you're going to get, you know, maybe have to learn the hard way. But hopefully we can avoid some of that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we think because we back up our information that we're safe as well because it's somewhere in the cloud and that's not really the case, is it?
No, because, you know, if you think about it, you know, somewhere in the cloud, most people they kind of still look in the sky and think cloud is cloud. They don't really understand that cloud can be infected as well. So, you know, and your backups can be affected, especially your backups can be infected for months. And so just a basic restore is just going to restore the old malware again. So, and a lot of some of the cloud configurations, some of the ports can be left open and, you know, just from user inexperience. And so they can be attacked. So just because it's a cloud solution doesn't mean it's a safe solution.
You know, and I just want to highlight that, you know, we're so vulnerable to all of this. And even someone like yourself that is like so knowledgeable about everything cybersecurity and, you know, it happened like with your device.
Yeah.
It just leaves us feeling like very vulnerable. Anyway, so yeah, so so much good information entirely. So we have another poll question.
And that segues really nicely. So with people being vulnerable, what should small and medium enterprises do to protect themselves? Obviously, these are completely serious answers. So fire away.
Oh, those are clever.
Yeah. I do enjoy a good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, though, I have to say.
Oh, you know what? They're pretty fantastic. They know a lot. But you know, I like the trust no one. If you go on zero trust, that's a first line of defense. And you can go to, you know, I've been pwned. Have I been pwned? So there's an actual website, and let me see if I can. Well, I'll put it in the chat later. But you can go onto the website. You type your email address, and then it can tell you if your email has been compromised or not, and your email and password. So you can actually go there and take a look. So that's kind of a fun thing to do, but guaranteed if you're not updating your passwords and you're not creating good passwords, you're going to be susceptible. So the password management is really critical, and two-factor authentication is coming more and more prevalent. And you know, you should be practicing good password hygiene. There should be a minimum of, oh, thank you, Tyra.
Yeah. No worries.
So Tyra put the link into the chat for Have I Been Pwned? And that'll be, that's kind of a fun thing to look at. But yeah, your password management and even getting a password manager is better than typing in your name and birthday. You know, that's pretty much, you know, it's pretty easy for them to hack that. And they can hack 8-character passwords can be hacked in under 2 minutes. So they've got cracking and encryption code breaking to break into your passwords that can be done in seconds and minutes. So, you know, the minimum length of mine are 12 characters, and I've got capitals and numbers and exclamations, and you know, or auto generated. So there's a lot of things that you should do, and not have the same password for every website, because if one gets compromised, they all get compromised. So, you know, if you're looking at those kind of habits, you should break those habits.
One of the things you said earlier just really like hit home, and it was because I have two thoughts about this. Is just really like when your leadership group, you know, the first line of defense is education. And so a lot of times, you know, we're not having those discussions, and because it's not it's an IT job or whatever. And we just know we're being looked after. So I love the fact that you said, have that discussion. If it seems too good to be true, I would never ask you to rush out and do something right away. Those types of things I think are really, really important. But, more so than not, we're getting these emails about, oh, I have an investment, I came into a lot of money. Here, can you help me out? I'm looking for work. If you're getting those emails in your small to medium-sized business, whether it's just in your own inbox or your employees, does that necessarily does it mean there's a big problem? And then again, how do you protect yourself if you see these little things moving into your email space?
Mostly, if I get them too all the time. I have a dead uncle from Nigeria that's left you $5 million. It's like, oh, great. Just give me all your bank information and pay me $1,000 to set you up. I mean, that's garden variety. Everybody's seen those. That just hits delete. Don't click on any links. Don't open any attachments. But, really, if they're coming from an external source, you need to know if it is the internal source. And so if it smells fishy, it is fishy, just delete it. Don't open any links or anything. And if you do, and you get infected, then you've got to, if you're not an IT person, you need to hand it over to your IT and security department. Or your managed service provider. So if you don't have the internal capabilities, then you do need to hand it over to an expert that can deal with it. But, we do a lot of security awareness training, and some of the things that we've done in corporations, we send out phishing emails as tests to see if somebody gets caught linking on it, and the kinds of things that they can, they get duped, because there's a lot of social engineering that goes into this as well. So they're looking to see who they can sucker. And so they're thinking, oh, well, new employee, I can probably get that one. Or, this one is maybe accounts payable, and this is a clerk junior that might not know better. Right. So they're pretty clever. So it's not just email, it's social engineering as well. And one of the things is looking at the email address. If it's got a bunch of, if it looks funny, it's got a bunch of numbers in it that you don't recognize, don't open it. Just hit delete. Or if it's really fishy, you just forward it on to your IT department. If you have an IT department, I always just say, here, this looks fishy, take a look at it, right? Mm-hmm. But some of the ransomwares that come in too, they've got ransomware bots now. And the bots will just keep coming back and saying, hey, I saw you doing something you should have been doing, and I put a rat on your computer, and now I've taken all your keystrokes, and I've turned your video camera on and caught you doing something and watching something you shouldn't have, and I'm going to broadcast it to all of your contacts unless you pay me ransom, and here's how you set up a Bitcoin wallet. Well, first of all, they can't do it. So I'd be calling your ISP provider. So if that's TELUS or Shaw, and you report that to them, and that's their job to sort of filter that out. But don't fall for it. Don't be setting it. They can't, and they did not. So, I'd be forwarding them first before I'd be paying any kind of ransomware. And I would strongly encourage not to pay ransomware, because it's like a hostage situation. And once you pay, they keep coming back for more. So they post you on the dark web saying this one pays, so keep hitting them, and then you'll just keep paying and paying and paying. So it is a big problem. And I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, totally. So, we're dealing here at the BBB with a lot of, again, small businesses, medium businesses. For that one person company that, just wants to protect themselves, because we know that, you're wearing so many different hats. So what would be your recommendation for that one or two person company that needs just to be, is it just an education piece? Is it, how do you protect yourself? Because this is a great conversation. And I say that because it's an opportunity for us to learn and protect ourselves, because we don't want to have to deal with it down the road when you're going bankrupt because you can't afford to get yourself out of this. So, I guess it's a two-pronged question. The one would be, that very small company, what should they do? And then a bigger one, should you be hiring an external security expert?
Yeah, and thanks for the question. So, Maria, what we're doing, I know we've discussed this a little bit before, but March 9th, we're launching a Foundations of Cybersecurity course. And it's a session of 16 webinars over an hour and a half every Tuesday and Thursday for women business owners in Southern Alberta or IT professionals interested in cybersecurity. And in those webinars, we're specializing on focusing on specific topics within cybersecurity. So you get an education and you get a little bit more of a deeper dive on identity theft or on creating a governance policy or creating a cybersecurity policy, and what are the things that you need in place, and how do you select a vendor? So how do you hire a cybersecurity expert? Because most people don't even know how to hire one. How, what experience should they have? What credentials should they have? What do you, how much should you pay for that? Because it certainly isn't free, but it isn't astronomically expensive either. So as a small business owner, maybe taking a series of courses and webinars, that's good. And then it teaches you how to hire properly and how to select vendors properly. And then for larger organizations, if you want internal, then you're hiring internal. And then that depends too on the level of security required. I know some very, very small companies that are dealing in top secret, they're defense contractors. So, their security needs are quite a bit higher than somebody that's, maybe a dog grooming operation, for example. So it depends on the nature and type of your business, the level of security, and the criticality of your assets as well. So you could be a small firm, but your infrastructure is very sophisticated, very expensive. And so therefore you need to have that protected, both physically and digitally. Or you could be a large operation and the risk to your organization isn't as high. So it's not just about company size, it's also about what you're protecting and the criticality of those assets.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, so important to be protecting your customers' information and data. Like, we can talk about, working with accredited businesses and that sort of thing, but also it is all of our responsibilities to deal with reputable companies, and also that extra step to look after your customers. So important. Again, it kind of gives me a little bit of stomachache when I think about the importance of that, because we know what it feels like to be on the other side of it if your information has been compromised. However, as a business owner, you would not want to have, that happen to your customers. So it's such an interesting topic, I have to say.
I'd love to take this moment, actually, if you're both okay with it, and transfer this over to an open Q&A to the business owners and the attendees in the audience. Would you guys like to ask any questions? I mean, I would utilize this time to ask anything. Cara's an expert in this field, so feel free to use the chat or come off mute, whatever's easier for you here. Nobody ever wants to be the first person to do it.
I have doing their dishes and they're having lunch.
I have a general question for you, Cara. So if it was a business owner from BBB, would they be able to book like a consult with you? So you had mentioned determining that level of security and that data and this. For me personally, I know some of the language and everything feels a little bit over my head. So hiring those vendors, is there ways to contact someone like Ammolite Analytx and get that consultation of what do I need, even if maybe you guys weren't the ones to provide it or whatever the case may be there?
Sure. Yeah, we've got on our website, Ammolite Analytx, you could post it in the chat. On our website, we have a free half-hour consultation with one of our experts. So you certainly can go in and send a request there, and then we'd be happy to do a high-level conversation to see what your needs are, and then we can draft something to help you out with that for sure.
That's amazing. Darcy just asked a question. What's riskier, losing your own data or losing your customers' data?
Love that question, and I love the answer. It depends. But it depends on the nature of the data. So if your data is very sensitive and confidential and classified or top security, and you lose it and you're down, you could go under. But if you lose your customers' data, and that data is also very sensitive, you can get sued. So you're responsible for it, and they can take you down too. So if you lose it, you didn't protect it, and you were supposed to, and you were negligent, and ignorance is not an excuse. So if you were negligent, then they can turn around and they can sue you for the damages that they have incurred because you didn't protect their data. So if your customer is a large enterprise customer, like some of the large oil and gas companies or defense contractors, and they lose significantly, you can get sued 6 ways to Sunday. So I think it depends on the nature of the data and what you're keeping safe and what you're responsible for keeping safe.
Got it. So, I just have a curious question. So when you're talking about like looking after yourself and you go and get your regular business insurance, is cyber part of that, or is it purchased on its own? Like, is it part of a normal like package when you're getting?
Yeah. So if you if you got like director and liability insurance, everybody's got to have commercial insurance. And so cyber is now a regular offering for a lot of companies. So you can shop it just like auto insurance or house insurance. So you can shop it and then and bundle it, and you can wheel and deal, and you can say, okay, I've got, you got my commercial insurance, and so you want to tack on. Or there's companies that just specialize in cyber insurance. So it's like selecting any insurance company. You really got to do some due diligence and do some homework. And you're making an informed buying decision.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you.
There was a great question from Devin about the encryption necessary. Would you be able to speak to that, Cara?
So no, it is not prohibitively expensive. There are tools in place. What needs to be done is, first and foremost, is have the policies and procedures in place, and the right personnel in place, and then the right tools to be used in your defense. So there's all kinds of cybersecurity tools on the market. Open source is free and can be used, but you need to have a very sophisticated person to be able to use those free cybersecurity tools. Or you can buy off-the-shelf things like Darktrace or Splunk. You can buy those. Those are expensive. The licensing is expensive, so generally suited for larger companies. And so it depends on what your budget is. It depends on what you're protecting. And so you're looking at it as an investment for protecting what you already have. So prohibitive, expensive depends on you could be a small company, but you're spending a lot because of the sensitivity and nature of your organization and data. Or if the risk of loss isn't that great, then you're looking at some off the shelf, and you don't need the highly sophisticated tools that are out there. So I hope that answered your question, Devin. That was a good question.
We have time for one more, so if anyone would like to put it in the chat. No, awesome. If anyone would like to throw it in the chat, please feel free. If not, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Cara and Maria. Thank you for leading this conversation. I know I personally learned so much, and thank you to everyone who attended. There was some great, really thought-provoking questions, so thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. Maria, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I just feel so not knowledgeable, but I mean, my eyes have been opened on definitely a few things, even though we've had some conversations about this. So thank you for that. And I do also want to just say we're lucky enough to have Cara with us again on March 11th at noon, where she's going to be talking about identity theft and fraud. So, our personal information is super sensitive and important to us. So we're excited to have that conversation as well. But yes, we are so privileged at the BBB to have you with us today. And we just thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Cara, you had mentioned being able to join the courses, do you by chance have a link that you could throw into the chat right now for anyone who wanted to follow up with that? Sorry to throw you right on the spot there.
I know. Let me see if I can, I should be able to get that Eventbrite for you quickly here. Let me just take a second to find it. And here,
while Kara's looking for that, because we mentioned at the beginning, we are doing Fraud Prevention Month. We hope to see you on the 11th, but we have some really exciting other events that I'll just take the opportunity to talk about. So we're not putting the pressure on Cara here, but we have Andrew from the Electronic Recycling Association. He's going to be talking about data security on unwanted electronic devices. There's a lot more to know about those than we think. There's some consumer calls from an insurance perspective. We're having Ivan from Johnson Insurance come in. We have Taz from Bromwich and Smith coming in on business fraud and scams. We have a very interesting one about what you didn't know about printer security. I was shocked by this. Andrew from HP is going to be coming in and talking about how to keep your information safe when printing to public printers and everything like that. And then we had one more about mass marketing and scams. And I can see that Cara just put the comment for the Cybersecurity Foundation, the tickets in Eventbrite. So if there's nothing else, thank you so much for joining us today, and really great questions again, and we hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
thanks for having me. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Cara.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.